Good morning to everyone. Thank you so much, Mike and Young Hee. I have to tell you, my heart is so very happy. I clipped onto the gallery view where it's not quite as wonderful as being at a Tocqueville Breakfast, but seeing all of you, even in tiny little boxes, makes my heart really, really happy. So thank you so much for all joining us this morning. I am Christine Bonero, and I have always the privilege and the honor of serving as president and CEO of Mile High United Way. And I can't tell you how thrilled I am that you are all willing to zoom in and join us this morning. I'm going to stick for a minute because it is my favorite time of year, but I'm going to stick for a minute with the theme of gratefulness as we come into this Thanksgiving season, because with everything that is going on, there is still so very much to be grateful for. And I am incredibly grateful, Mike and Young Hee, to you for serving these past 2 years, but particularly this past year as the chair of our Tocqueville Society. We have, you keep stepping up no matter what we say, and we say, now it's going to be virtual, and now we're going to do this, and now we're going to do that. And you have just said yes all the way along. I am so grateful. I also know my dearest and most wonderful friend, our past chairman, Noel Ginsburg, is also on this call. And Noel, I have to say, once again, I am grateful to you as I go into my 12th year as president and CEO of United Way. Thank you for saying yes to me all those years before, because I don't think we would ever envision the role that United Way would play over the past decade, and how we, particularly in the past 8 months, thanks to everybody on this call, have been able to continue to adjust, to pivot, and to be able to support the families across Colorado that need us now more than ever. And we have been able to do this because of the long-term strategies you all have supported, and we have been able to put in place by having real conversations in the community, by embedding ourselves in the community, by collecting the data that we get from 211, by listening to parents, but also then to be developing all those partnerships with our public policy leaders, with our governor, with the mayor, with nonprofit leaders, with all of our corporate leaders. That is what makes Colorado so resilient. And that is what this conversation is about this morning as well. When Governor Polis called the Mile High United Way and asked if we would join him and join the Colorado Health Foundation to partner in what was going to be and continues to be an unprecedented response, because of everyone on this phone call, because our Tocqueville donors, all of our donors, our amazing staff and team believe in us, we were able to step up and say, yes, we would be very proud to partner with the state. When we were asked if our 211 Help Center could step up and do even more, not just in the Denver metro area, but for every Coloradan, so that we could be there for those who were really struggling just to cover their basic needs, to pay their rent, to put food on the table. Because of all of you, we were able to say yes. Many of you have heard that pre-COVID, the middle of March, our 211 Help Center was taking about 300 phone calls a day. And you can see 2 weeks later, we went from 300 phone calls a day to over 2,000 phone calls a day. It's an amazing testament to the 211 Help Center staff and the Mile High United Way staff, but it is a testament to all of you who made sure that 211 was strong and that we could be there to answer the call. And I have to say, those calls have continued. You can see what the data looks like, and we're still continuing. Just even yesterday, we're creeping back up to taking 1,000 phone calls today from families and individuals and our neighbors who are still calling for support. And we listened. And when we listened, we began to understand this digital divide as children had to stay home, just like I am in my living room. But there was a divide that was happening as well. And our 211 community navigators who were in neighborhoods we're knocking on the door and having conversations with the family. And we found out that folks really were struggling to pay their rent, were struggling to put food on the table. And we, because of the amazing people that believe and invest in the United Way, we're able to provide support like rental assistance, like food cards, so folks could have. And as you know, through 211 directly, we can do SNAP enrollment as well. And when families were having to navigate, again, that world of technology, we were able to provide laptops, internet support, training to make this as easy as possible for families. And when our young people in Bridging the Gap were really struggling with their physical and emotional well-being during the crisis, we were able to pivot to telehealth counseling, to provide Zoom engagement opportunities and do yoga on Zoom. It's amazing what we've been able to figure out how to do because of the innovation of all of you. And then what's very exciting is we have never strayed from our mission to support early child care and education, putting the stake in the ground for our youngest ones, from supplying child care centers who became so very critical for first provider or for first responders and frontline workers to be able to go to work. Through the Keep the Lights On Fund, we were able to support over 5,000 child care workers across the state with essential cleaning supplies. And then, of course, we were still able to cut the ribbon, as you can see, on our mobile preschool in Globeville, Elyria, Swansea. You did that for us. This is what it looks like to be a community united. For 133 years, because of the belief in all of you, we have been able to respond to our community needs. And as I sit here this morning talking about Thanksgiving, I am really keenly aware that I am sitting really safely in my own cozy dining room. My kitchen is right there where I have access to anything that I want. We are keenly aware that that is not true for many families and for many of our neighbors. And we have continued over the past 7 months to ask ourselves, what else can we be doing? Is there more? And 2 weeks ago, as we all remember, we weren't quite ready for it. We had that cold snap and we began to get a sense of what it was going to look like when winter was coming, and it snowed and it was so bitterly cold. And once again, we got a phone call from a longtime community partner who asked if maybe we could help. Our partners at the St. Francis Center, who are just 2 blocks down, who have been a Mile High United Way partner for so many years and provide comfort and warmth and shelter to our family, our friends, our neighbors that are experiencing homelessness. For the first time, because of everything that is happening with COVID, they had to turn away people on that very cold day, literally, to be able to say, I'm sorry, there is no room and we can't let you come in to shelter. So they made a phone call to us and said, we know that the Mile High United Way is opening and functioning from your living rooms and your bedrooms, but we know you're not using the building in the same way. And 7 years ago, with all of you and Mike Kehoe, thanks to PCL, we cut the ribbon on the Morgridge Center for Community Change in the Mile High United Way. And we asked the question, when is a building more than a building? And I'm really proud to say that we're going to be able to answer that question in a really different way. I told my team this is the only place I get really emotional in these remarks, because we were and are very proud to say to St. Francis Center that our building is more than a building. So we will join you this winter when there are neighbors and families and individuals on our street and you, St. Francis Center, don't have room to keep them warm. We are going to be using the PCL Conference Center as a warming center this winter to keep our neighbors safe, to keep them warm. This is exactly why we moved into this building, and this is exactly why we built this building. It truly is when a building is more than a building. We know this pandemic has hit every single one of us in Colorado, but we also know that it has hit us in different ways. And it has shown how far we have come as a community, and it has also shown where there are still gaps and there are disparities. We are so grateful, again, just in this season of Thanksgiving, to thank you all for standing by us, for all of our partners for being there with us. We are so really honored this morning to welcome, and I just got my little note to say he's here. Thanks, Chelsea. We are so very honored and welcomed, excited this morning to welcome Governor Polis, who his leadership has been extraordinary. And I am also really proud this morning on this call, because the governor is governor for all of us, to welcome our sister United Ways. We are a network of United Ways across Colorado who are responding. So thank you all for joining us this morning as well. But this is really what a community united looks like. And I know he needs no introduction, but I really am so incredibly honored to introduce our Governor, Jared Polis, this morning. We know he is a Boulder native, an entrepreneur, a public servant, and an expert in education. And now, I think, not what you wanted, Governor, but an expert in leading through crisis at a time when we need hope and opportunity. And that's what you've been doing for all of us. Served on the State Board of Education, represented the Colorado 2nd Congressional District as our congressman, and now we are so grateful that he is leading through this as our governor. When the governor called us and said, could the Colorado Health Foundation and Mile High United Way join me in serving how we can support Colorado, the governor launched the Colorado COVID Relief Fund, which to date, thanks to so many Coloradans, has surpassed $22 million in funds to support through this challenging time. And I also have to thank 4 incredible partners who were the first to step up for Mile High United Way, to say, we want Mile High United Way to be able to keep doing its work, and we want 100% of every penny that goes into the governor's COVID relief fund to go out to the community. So thanks to Comcast, I know Mary Spillane and Chris McDonald are on the call. Thanks to Wells Fargo and Kelly Donovan. Thanks to Bank of America, Raju, and to Erica, and to the Mortgage Family Foundation, true partners in helping us start the fund, and then to all of you who raised $22 million. So Governor Polis, this is the largest Zoom event that Mile High United Way has had. You have representatives from across the state, and we're really honored to have you join us this morning.
Oh, thank you, Christine. You know, really, the people on this call are really just heroes for stepping up and meeting the need. I have had a chance to visit with some of the recipients of the COVID Relief Fund grants, and I just want to thank you, Mile High United Way, most importantly, your donors, and so many others across Colorado who are able to help and are helping. And I think that has really been the secret formula for helping many of our most vulnerable get through this, you know, with their lives intact as much as possible.
So thank you, Governor, and thank you all who, Governor, I can't tell you, we've not had this many questions submitted, and I know all you're doing these days is going from conference to press conference. We all have so much. So all of these questions, thank you for submitting, and I am proud to ask them on all of your behalf. Governor, our first question was comes about leadership, and clearly, as our state's leader, you surround yourself with amazing partners, especially during this most challenging time. And I think that's why we're all so grateful that you are serving at this time. But we would just love to know, given all of the tolls that happen, the physical, the emotional, the mental health tolls of so many Coloradans, Governor, who do you surround yourself with, and what's guiding you, and how are you making your decisions as the leader of our state?
Well, thank you, Christine. And, the pandemic isn't just about physical health. It's about mental health, spiritual health, economic health. It's really about so many measures of the broadly defined public health. It's taken its largest toll on older Coloradans, and that doesn't just mean that they're at extra risk, which they are, but so many older Coloradans are going through extraordinary social isolating steps. I have a 86-year-old friend who hasn't received visitors in 6 months to keep herself safe. Just the toll of that is really, really difficult. We have a terrific team. Scientist, Dr. Rachel Herlihy, Dr. Eric France, our state chief medical officer, experts in the field. We listen to a lot of the work being done nationally and internationally on the epidemiological impact and steps that can be taken to contain the virus. We hear from local businesses who've really stepped up through their chambers to find safer ways to operate during the pandemic. And we know that a lot of Coloradans are without their support system right now. And we're encouraging people to stay connected with their loved ones virtually. That's not an easy ask, but we are very worried about intergenerational families coming together as we traditionally do this time of year. And we're proud of the team that we've assembled. I think they work closely with local communities. The reality on the ground is not always the same in different places of our state, to try to find the best possible way to integrate the different values into a cohesive response.
Thank you, Governor. And again, the data and the information that must be flowing through your office. I know you know, because we've talked about, we have seen that the number of phone calls that are coming through 211 from across the entire state, that families are still struggling. We now know small businesses are still struggling. We're all excited and hopeful about the news about a vaccine, but know that is months to come. As we look to both the health recovery and the economic recovery, what steps do you think, Governor, we all need to be taking, and how do we balance, as I know you do every day as a business leader, the economic tolls that are happening for all of us as well?
Well, look, in terms of professional jobs, responsibilities, to the extent that we can do them remotely, we must do so. To the extent that you oversee or own companies or manage people, to the extent they can do their work remotely, it's really critical that people can do that safely from their home. We are taking action on the public side as well to help the most vulnerable. We, within about 2 weeks, folks who've suffered unemployment will get a $375 one-time payment. In fact, it's over 400,000 Coloradans. We are also reconvening the legislature, and that's at some risk to themselves. So when you talk to your local legislator, thank them for being willing to step up, because that's not easy to. They're going to do it as safely as they can, but it's that they know that the need of the state is great, and they're going to help renters and small businesses and people paying their heating and lighting bills through winter so the lights aren't shut off, and support for childcare. So, however great our capabilities are in Colorado, and we're grateful to be in a state that's wealthier than some, they're minuscule compared to the federal government. And we frankly need our nation to step up and respond to those in need in a cohesive, bipartisan way. We're really fortunate to have organizations like Mile High United Way, who provide emergency funding for things like rental assistance, utilities, food, and other basic needs. There will still be so many holes, even if we're able to fill some on the public side. And there's, even after you're done and after we're done, it's still going to be a lot of holes. We need the federal government to step up, and we really need everybody to step up to get through this.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor. We know prior to the pandemic, and we're so grateful to you, even through this, you have never taken your eye off our littlest ones, off of the role of early childcare and early childcare education, and your passion for that as well. Thanks to your leadership last year, we were able to get full day kindergarten passed, and we know we are looking to the future. So we were hopeful. I know you and I chatted about this, that all those new kindergartners would be back in school this year, but what are we looking forward to in the future around early child care and education? We also know the vaping tax just passed, and so what are we looking to for the future? And then I'd love to ask you a question about, I also know you're a dad, so how's it going at your house?
Well, so as you know, if there's one big area of focus for me and my time as governor, it's to really move Colorado from a laggard to leader in early childhood education, birth to 5, preparing the next generation for success, benefits today for the workforce, benefits tomorrow for breaking down achievement gaps that persist along racial lines and income lines. And throughout the pandemic, childcare programs have been under great stress because they too need to follow the health protocols to make sure the kids and families are safe. So one of the items for the special session will be help for childcare. Early in the pandemic, we partnered with Gary Community Foundation, the Colorado Department of Human Services, to make sure that frontline workers could find childcare. We have a great partnership with Mile High United Way. The full day kindergarten piece, we based on the science and the data, believe that K5 should be, P5 should be in session right now. Obviously, school districts make their own judgments, and they're not without their own staffing difficulties. But across the state, most school districts are actually in. But we hear a lot about the metro ones that aren't. And we are very excited to celebrate the overwhelming passage by the voters of universal preschool in our state, which at this time of political division, isn't it wonderful to see something that united 67% of Coloradans? I mean, it's just Republican, Democrat, Independent, every region of our state. It's just wonderful to see Coloradans come together with one voice and validate what we think is common sense. And now they validated that, which is kids should be able to go to preschool, right? I mean, your kids probably did, and mine did. Getting to my kids, we can afford it, but many families can't afford preschool and couldn't afford kindergarten until we made it free. And it's every bit as important, if not more, as first, second, third, fourth grade. And we sort of take it for granted in our society that everybody has access to those, but that simply has not been the case for preschool and kindergarten. And that basic grounding kids get and the social emotional skills and academic preparation in early childhood is so important. And we can continue our commitment for the entire neonatal through 5 continuum because we know that there's a lot of work that goes in for successful child development before preschool too. Our kids are doing great, 9 and 6, and been a mix of mostly in person this year, which we're all thrilled with, and some online, and like most families, navigating all that and doing the best we can.
I'm glad to hear it, and I think we all are doing the best we can as well. And again, your continued leadership in keeping our littlest ones out front means so much, particularly to the Mile High United Way, who has made a commitment to this for so very long. I know it's hard to think about other things in the future while we're looking, Governor, at what the data is in telling us still right now, encouraging us all to safely, we're safer back at home, and to think about how we do that. But what do you think is the most important thing right now that all Coloradans can do to get through this time, and as you say, as we get all through it together?
Really just avoid socializing with people outside your household. The extent you're doing activities or doing things, do them with folks in your household. Wear a mask around others, of course. When you go into a store, we owe it to the people who work in the store, not to mention, hopefully, to protect yourself, which, by the way, all the data shows masks have a significant impact on protecting yourself as well. So, I mean, 50 to 75% reduction. It's really, it boggles my mind. I mean, it's wonderful. We have a vaccine with 94% effectiveness on the horizon, but we have a technique with at least 50% protection today, and that's simply wearing a mask around others. We need to, of course, when you go out and you come back, wash your hands, but also enable others to be home too, and just sort of set that message that we're not mixing between households. We all can't wait till we can hug each other and see each other again, but it's up to each of us to do our part in slowing the virus. It's up to you as leaders to set that tone for your organizations, your friends, your family. We're calling on our business community to maximize telecommuting through this difficult period. In addition to the health benefit, many of them are parents and are dealing with having kids at home too, and it's very hard for them to come into work if the schools aren't in.
Well, I can tell you, Governor, and I hope many on these call have it. We have one on the way to you. We hope, because it's going to be virtual this year, that you'll join us in our virtual turkey trot, where we have a fabulous Mile High United Way turkey mask for everyone as well. So to celebrate in a very different way. Governor, we just got a question in, thank you, that wanted to go back to not just the special session, but what you see coming in the regular legislative session in January. You just released your suggested budget, and what are some of the key takeaways that you'd like to highlight for the business community that you believe are going to be important in this next budget and for getting our economy back up?
Well, firstly, I want to thank Mile High United Way again for administering the COVID relief fund. There's still need out there, and I think we're at over $23 million. In addition, of course, there's also the three largest wildfires in the history of our state, which we are really just beginning that recovery work on. Hundreds of Coloradans who lost their home, thousands who suffered damage, two who paid the ultimate price. So we are recovering from multiple pandemics now, and the nonprofits and COVID Relief Fund and Mile High United Way are absolutely critical to that effort. So I think it's really, you're talking about the general session. I think one of the areas that we are focused on is we're able to restore some of the cuts that were made last session. I think everybody agrees that's important, but also make sure we can use some of the one-time carry forward that we have from this year into next year as a one-time stimulus to get the economy going. So a combination of shovel-ready projects, infrastructure. We all know we need that, relief for folks, one-time investments in workforce. This is a time where we want to make sure that Colorado leads the nation in recovery. And some of that, a small piece of that will be in the special session, a few $100 million of that. And then the bigger part would be in next year's session.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor. We have a question from Jim Bender. Hi, Jim. What can the state do or planning to do to assist in the distribution of the vaccine when we all do get it?
Yeah, we filed our plan for vaccine distribution a couple weeks ago. We do expect that we'll get the first dosages in December, in about probably a month or less. Now that'll be for healthcare workers and hopefully some first responders. It's very limited. We expect to reach segments of the general population beginning with 65 and up early next year.
Great, thank you. We have a question from, thank you, Governor, for being so open to taking all of these questions with us. It's a rare treat. And you have, this is something why I'm so proud to live in Colorado. I think we've all felt sort of the divisions that we've seen across the country on opinion and how it feels personal. How in Colorado do you think we begin to pull us all back together? You have always done that for us, but Connie asks, how do we begin to heal, to move forward?
Well, let's just focus on a couple of the ballot initiatives that really united folks. I mean, preschool, right? Which I want to thank, you, Christine, and Mile High United Way, 67%. That's rare these days, right? That means, Republicans, Democrats, everybody says, yeah, kids should be able to go to preschool. It unites people. We also were able to have a strong, very bipartisan coalition to pass Amendment B, which repealed the Gallagher Amendment, which protects a lot of organizations that are also valued community organizations, fire protection, library districts, so many others, as well as preventing a tax increase on our small businesses. So we can come together, Christine, even in that political realm. It shows that people of good faith working together can really accomplish great things in Colorado.
I couldn't agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more. And that's the perfect plug for me to say that's why the United Way movement started here in Colorado. I think that is our history of being able to unite when we are needed the most. I'm just going to read this one to you, Governor, because you know him well. This is from Noel Ginsburg, and Noel's on the line, and he says, Governor, I want to thank you for your proactive view to bring our legislators back to provide support, and at the same time, congressional support for larger scale stimulus will be critical. Do you have any hope that will take place before the end of the year? And is there anything we can do to encourage Congress to move on behalf of all Coloradans and all Americans?
Thanks, Noel, for the question. Drawing on my well of experience as a decade in Congress, and also having talked to much of our delegation the last few days, I talked to Speaker Pelosi over the weekend. They don't know either. I think it's probably 50-50 whether it gets done this year. For my part, I encouraged our delegation and the speaker to simply work on a compromise. I mean, just take something that's in front of you and do it. The need is very great through winter, and we would rather have a package now, and they're welcome to modify it or tweak it, in January, February, March. But for many of our small businesses, for many folks who have to pay rent, for folks who are unemployed, that the extraordinary unemployment insurance runs out in late December. We cannot afford a gap. And so I urge them to, politics being the art of the possible, see what's possible and get it done, whether they do or not. And obviously there's equal responsibility on Mitch McConnell in the Senate to make sure that they're at the table to respond to the nation in the time of need.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor. So I better ask this question since he's sitting in the next room. This question is from Brad Bussey. Back to the early child care space. And again, Governor, thank you for being so gracious that we're sort of taking you everywhere on this conversation. Is there anything we've learned about the state of our early childhood care and education system that has shown up as a result of the pandemic?
Well, I would say just how what we often take for granted, we can't take for granted. I mean, who would think, kids going to school, a pretty basic thing. Who would think that in some parts of our state that's in jeopardy, and kids are not, in fact, in-person learning for much of this year. I think we have some opportunities coming out of this, namely. We expect, and the state is similar to many employers. We have 30,000 people. We're maximizing telecommuting now. We're at close to 70%, but like most organizations, everybody can't telecommute. We have prison guards. We have people from CDOT who clear your roads when it snows. There's no way to telecommute for that. State troopers on the highways. But we believe that after the pandemic is over, we will likely have 20 to 30% telecommuting. And so we can reduce our office footprint by hundreds of thousands of square feet across the state, saving taxpayer money, increasing productivity, retention, and morale. I think many companies are realizing the same thing, not that they want to continue telecommuting at these levels, but that they want to build it into kind of their new normal to save overhead and provide additional productivity and benefits for employees. What does that mean? It means we'll probably have the opportunity to reposition some commercial and office space as childcare space. And so we are excited about that opportunity. We want to make sure that break down regulatory barriers in that area and really have more, particularly on-site, high-quality childcare as part of addressing the commercial space, which we expect will increase its availability post-pandemic.
That's exciting to think about, Governor. Thank you. Thank you. We have a question from Gary Moore. Good morning, Gary. Governor, what do you see as the future of RTD, and does the state have a role with RTD?
Yeah, I don't know if it has a future. I met with their new executive director just a day or two ago. I probably scared her. She probably wondered why she took the job, but I'm sure she came in eyes wide open. It's a turnaround. I don't know. Can they get their act together or not? I mean, we have to plan around them because we don't really control them or influence them. I mean, we're doing our own stuff through CDOT. We're doing Mustang, and we're doing a lot of cool stuff. We're looking at Front Range Rail. It would be a great shame if our RTD falls on its own weight. Maybe there's a chance for some sort of state takeover or something short of that, and maybe they can turn it around. We did work with the legislature to have a outside committee come in and recommend some reforms that they need to do. But it's hard to say what will happen there. It would be a shame if we lose that capacity. But we can't really assume that they'll be stable in our own statewide planning. We're big on a multimodal and rail and bus. We want Colorado to have more of those opportunities. They don't have a monopoly in any of their areas. I mean, municipalities can run buses, the state can run buses and trains. No, they don't keep others out, but they do have some good assets. And, that's another thing. If it doesn't work out through RTD, how can we recapture and reutilize those assets? I mean, they shouldn't go away. Does the state take them on as a new district? Do counties get together? I think if they can't make it work as RTD, how do we do a workout on the assets that makes sure that they remain deployed?
Thank you. Thank you. And I know, Governor, we want to be really respectful of your time. We have just a couple more questions for you to let our colleagues know, as well as Governor, this question is from Greg Anton. Hi, Greg. Thanks for joining us this morning. We have a new dial, the red dial, the red purple, and in particularly, what do we see that new dial may have the impact on business, but in particularly, and I know Greg well, is an impact on the ski industry, which we know is so vital to our community.
Well, from a health perspective, people can certainly ski and be outdoors, and there's not an issue with that. I think that the most important thing is to go skiing with people who live under your own household, right? And so it's more who you ski with than the fact that you're skiing. It's really who you do anything with. Of course, it's that sort of town experience and the après ski and all of those things that go into what most folks consider a normal ski vacation that are a greater threat for, of course, the workers in the industry and for tourists who come to enjoy that. So if the mountain recreation is your main goal, Colorado's mountains are going to offer that and do offer that, and it's a great opportunity. If partying is your goal, it's hard to figure out how people can do that safely during a pandemic.
Thank you. So, Governor, as I mentioned earlier, Mile High United Way is very proud to be part of the Colorado United Way network. My colleagues are on this phone as well, and certainly the COVID relief fund was $23 million to the entire state. Governor, I know you have traveled the entire state. What has inspired you and what has made you proud during these very challenging 8 months?
Well, I've got to visit, Christine, some of your recipients of the COVID relief fund, and I can just tell you the difference it makes. It might seem like small dollars in the scheme of things. It might be $15,000, $10,000. Visited a center for victims of domestic abuse in Yuma County that are able to serve more of the women that they need to with the $15,000 they received. I visited the Boys and Girls Club in Pueblo, and especially with the schools out, expanding their hours just so people can work and put food on the table and pay rent and have that childcare they need. Normally the Boys and Girls Club is just, after school hours. They've expanded to do spaced out, safe daycare during the day. And these things just wouldn't have been able to happen without the transformational help of the COVID relief fund. So I'm just so grateful for that work. I know on behalf of all of those recipients, and I've only talked to a small fraction of them. And as of you, there's just so many of them. They are all just have a debt of gratitude to Mile High United Way, to the donors, to really everybody who's helped them step up. They had the will, they had the ability. What they didn't have was the resources, and you've helped link them with the resources. So thank you.
Governor, thank you. It was truly a very proud day for me and for Mile High United Way to be asked to serve you, to serve our state, and to partner with you. And this all happens because of the 200 plus people and so many more who are on this phone call this morning. Very proud Coloradans, very proud supporters of United Way. And Governor, again, the fact that we were saying this morning, we remember right when you were elected, coming to speak to Tocqueville donors was one of the very first things you did for us. And here you are again today, spending so much time with us to answer all of our questions, to be so available. We are incredibly proud to be your partner, and we are incredibly grateful that we all get to call Colorado home, and to have you leading us through this very challenging time. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning.
And thank everybody on this call for stepping up in Colorado's time of need, and Mile High United Way and all of your donors making an enormous difference in helping Coloradans get through really our darkest days. So thank you, Christine.
Thank you, Governor. I wish you and your family just the happiest of Thanksgiving, and I wish all of you the happiest of Thanksgiving. And we're going to end with just what I hope will make your heart happy, just a short little video of what it looks like to truly have a community united. I wish you all again, just the very best, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Even separate or bonded through community. Even at a distance, we stand strong together. We know that the power of a community united is greater than the sum of its individual parts. We have seen the positive difference that coming together makes. For 133 years, Mile High United Way has worked alongside you to foster the strength of Colorado, to elevate its limitless capacity for empathy, to celebrate the resilience that is woven into the very fabric of this community, and the lives of the children, families, individuals, and businesses who call Colorado home. What we're facing now asks for a different kind of resilience. It asks us to step up for one another, without the ability to hold or hug or offer an ungloved hand. It asks us to remember that even in darkness, a ray of hope shines bright in the hearts of our neighbors. A nightly howl rallies our support for those on the front lines, for all voices who are speaking up, a door that stays open when everything else closes. When everything did close, even when our building closed, our hearts and our services remained open. We continue to tackle the complex problems that this pandemic only worsened. The need for quality early childhood education, access to educational and employment opportunities, wraparound support for youth exiting the foster care system, and ensuring that even our most under-resourced neighbors can meet their basic needs without fear or judgment. We didn't shy away from the needs of our community. We've never shied away. And we will stand, we will galvanize, we will speak up. We will work for those who need it most, without hesitation. Because we have seen the way neighborhoods rise when access and opportunity is given with true equity in mind. And we know in our hearts, in our bones, in our souls, that all communities deserve to rise. United, we are getting through this. United, we are rising. Because that's what happens when we show up for each other. When we respond to the immediate needs and systemic issues facing our communities. That's what happens when we are a community united. Rise with us. Be the game changer. Unite with us.
Thank you all so much for joining us, Mike and Young Hee, and a very happy Thanksgiving to all of you.